Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should call this episode Ingsocnia versus O.J. Simpson. What do you think? No? You don't like
Um,
it? He's already in
yeah.
jail. He can't do nothing to you. Famous Heisman Trophy winner, double murderer. Let's talk about that. So, what is your perception being an Englishman of O.J. Simpson?
But I think in England, OJ's more of a butt of jokes, you know, as opposed to having real serious opinions about the case because, oh, maybe that's just a generational thing because I wasn't obviously, I was born in 1990. I wasn't really awake for the trial. But yeah, he's more of a joke figure,
Right.
like he's an example of when you're accusing somebody of being guilty of something. Ah, damn, you're more guilty than OJ. That's that kind of thing. He's not as much of a cultural figure as he just seems to be in America. You
Well,
know.
for the U.S., I would think he's only so huge of a cultural figure here because of what he did in the 60s, winning the Heisman Trophy. I believe it was in 67, I want to say. And at that point in time, he had transcended kind of like the color barrier during the civil rights movement. And right around that time, we had the Watts riots and everything like that. So for white people and black people, you had this kind of transcendental figure that, was just a man. People saw him based on his athletic ability
Yeah.
versus the color of his skin. And then we all know, what happened in 1995 or 94, excuse me, but he took up all of my entire year of 1995 on the television set. I remember everything
Yeah.
from every bad outfit to every outburst in the courtroom to every I can't even every Johnny Cochran catchy catchphrase that there was.
Yeah.
So being that I'm a little bit older than you, I remember him as an actor, being famous for that. I remember him more as well, obviously the first thing I remember is murder. I mean, the most famous American to be charged with murder, like in history, still to this day. And we know he did it. And if you don't believe he did it, you need to go back and you need to check your facts again. But
Mm.
something I want to understand is why in 2016, half of the black populace still thinks he's not guilty. How do you do that? How?
Well, I'm not sure on the exact figures, but it does seem kind of interesting that there must be something in that where there's some kind of, I don't want to use the word tribal, but that's how it comes across. It's like, well, he's our guy, and maybe you could understand that a little bit more back, during the times of the trial, but no, it doesn't make any sense because all the facts and all the data, and it's so obvious. Any other case, any other trial, guilty. But
If it had happened
this,
now,
yeah,
as opposed to in the 90s, we'd have locked him up and thrown away the key.
yeah. Would you say that the black population in general would still be about 50, 60, 40, whatever the split is, in favour of OJ?
Oh yeah.
Or
Oh yeah. Because we don't have the black community, we as a people, we have very few people that have reached that status of fame. Like Michael Jordan is one of them.
yeah,
Dennis Rodman is one of them. Marshawn Lynch is another one. So we as a people have very few icons, supposedly, which I don't believe is true, but we have very few icons we can culturally hold on to. And OJ being, when he did what he did, rushing 200 yards, the longest rush ever, still hasn't been topped. What he did in that time frame makes him more of a cultural icon than Michael Jordan. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Or, Dennis Rodman or whoever, because of what was going on. What I don't understand is in 2016, how we're going to kick off Black History Month with reruns of the OJ trial. Why are we trying to rehash this? Why? It's almost like I wouldn't be surprised if I walked out the door tomorrow and I saw a free OJ t-shirt. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's almost like we have this, we have this, we have to hold on to this, or otherwise we lose. Well, what do we lose? We lose a double murderer. That's it.
Yeah.
A double murdering thug.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really. I've never really understand why OJ is such a sort of why he even. I understand the trial was a massive thing. I don't really understand why he became some kind of black hero. I don't know. Is that even
Yeah,
right? It
you're
doesn't make
right.
any
I have no
sense.
idea. Basically, because I feel like during that time frame, we did have a lot of problems with the LAPD,
Mm,
which were exposed by that trial. However, half of that was just inflammatory nonsense being
mm,
pushed on a culture that was already being suppressed.
yeah.
You already have people standing on the side of the road doing nothing in Compton, being harassed by the police. You
Yeah.
have Rodney King. You have all those things. So what Johnny Cochran did was ingenious in that sense. He took it and put it in the face of every American. And yes, did expose corruption, yes, but also made a bigger problem
Yeah.
in that sense. I think he was such a good lawyer that he even convinced OJ he wasn't guilty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think the prosecution, I don't think they were ready for the type of lawyers that they were up against.
Yeah.
These people, that is what they do. You know what I mean? They're just sharks. That's what they look for, is stuff like that. And I don't think the LA County Prosecutor's Office was ready for that. Whereas when you had, you know, in 1969, you had Charles Manson, you had Vincent Bugliosi was ready for that. I mean, he
Yeah.
lived, slept, ate, and breathed Charles Manson. And it's very hard to prove a conspiracy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But he managed to do it and managed to get every single one of them on death row. I don't think at that point um, society was ready to accept that their hero was guilty of doing this, you
Mm,
know? But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, you also hear, you know, that, oh, well, he's an Uncle Tom, you know, he's this, he's that, because he didn't want to live in the hood anymore. And I don't begrudge anybody who doesn't. Who the hell wants to live where you're getting shot at? You
mm,
got the soothing sounds of gunfire putting you
yeah.
to sleep in the middle of the night. You can't begrudge somebody that. And I don't think that's a color thing. And that's something I feel like black culture has never forgiven him for. It's like crabs in a bucket, you know? Instead of being like, oh man, if he can do it, I can do it too. I don't have to, you know, I don't have to subject myself to this. I do not have to live like this. You
Mm,
know what I mean? They look at him as a traitor, the half that sees that he is guilty, and the other half that doesn't, just completely like, he didn't do it, they set him up.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, for me, that's my opinion. But I mean, what would your opinion be, just on knowing and seeing documentaries, seeing trial footage, seeing everything? What would your opinion be on that?
Well, the way I look at it is, so if it was, let's say, Peyton Manning or
Right.
someone like that did that, and the evidence was the exact same, everything was the trial went the exact same way. I just don't see how 50 or 80 or whatever percent at whatever given time of white people would believe that Peyton Manning was innocent. I just don't see how that. I don't see that happening, and I'm not sure. Like, obviously, I've not got the experience of living as a black person, or even living in America, where I know that race relations is definitely different. I'm just not sure what sort of culture it is that creates such how you identify with somebody of your own race so ardently without really taking in the facts and what's obvious in front of your face. I just don't. It's just hard for me to understand as somebody that lives in
Right.
maybe a more. I don't know whether England's not more multicultural, but it seems to be just slightly more passive in terms of, right, I'm black, so I'm gonna hang around with black people. I'm white, so I'm gonna support the white guy. I don't know. Is it America that's more like that, or is it maybe just black people that are more like that?
I think This is a two-part question because I honestly think in the United States they set up a culture of us and them. Okay, as a black person. Okay, only being half black. Let's just get that out there. The other half is white. Say what you want to. This is a wig. I don't care. Okay, but growing up with a white family, growing up on the white side of my family, and then getting to know the black side of my family later in life, knowing like what it's an us and them mentality, and it's perpetuated on the black side. Okay, the white side of my family is more apt to accept that whole white guilt thing, which don't hang that shit on me. I didn't do nothing to nobody. You know what I mean? I didn't shackle myself ass to elbow with other people and bring myself here to serve people. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's a two-part thing. Black culture, if you really want to get down to it, black folks can be hardcore racist. And then you point it out to them and you say, hey man, that's a racist statement. I'm not racist, I'm black. What? How are you compartmentalizing that? How do you see that because of the color of your skin, you can't be racist? You just can't be. It's genetically and mentally impossible.
That in itself is racist.
Right?
Just
Right?
that comment,
So you have the media that sets up an us and them mentality in the United States. And then again, like I said, white culture is more apt to be like, oh my God, what did we do to these poor people? We wouldn't let them wear clothes and we beat them. We're terrible people.